There's this concept called the tortured expert. It's the person who's passionate about what they know, but it doesn't mean they can turn it into a business. And so I've seen a lot of people who are passionate about the thing that they're good at, but turning it into a business murders that thing, just stabs it over and over for them. They don't enjoy it anymore.
Caleb Christopher, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
I'm just saying, let's get to the point. And here's what we need to know about Caleb. So Caleb is an entrepreneur, and we love entrepreneurs, and this is why, because he has a company called Creative TC. He has another company called DOSGuard. He has another company called Creative Title, where he specializes in closing complex real estate transactions. But we're going to go way beyond that, okay, Christopher, because there's so much for us to talk about, because I love that you're an entrepreneur. And I, for one, want to know why it seems so easy that you built 3 companies and that's what you do, where some people can't even think about doing one thing. So how do you do that? Give me some background.
I can't think about doing one thing. But it's from the opposite direction. It's not that I can't think of nothing. It's that I can't stop of thinking things to do. It's difficult to only do one thing, actually. I think before the show, we were talking a little bit about what I do, but what I do isn't who I am. It's just what I'm working on right now as an entrepreneur. I have to say no to everything else to work on the one thing. And so I learned the thing. It's just be the change you want to see. I see an opportunity. I love the real estate industry. I see an opportunity. I build something and it takes a while. And when I'm done with that, I have a team that does the stuff now and I move on to the whatever next project.
Okay, so walk me through, what is that like? So if somebody's sitting there saying, I'm really passionate about, I don't know, they're really passionate about dogs. You
Sure.
like techie stuff, so I'll make it
Sure.
techie because it seems like that's a little bit more in your wheelhouse. So somebody knows that they want to build some site, they want to do something techie. What's the commitment like? How do you get in line and get yourself to just follow through with it and cut out the noise?
There's this concept called the tortured expert. It's the person who's passionate about what they know, but it doesn't mean they can turn it into a business. And so I've seen a lot of people who are passionate about the thing that they're good at, but turning it into a business murders that thing, just stabs it over and over for them. They don't enjoy it anymore. And so I would caution people, just because you're passionate about something doesn't turn you into an entrepreneur, because entrepreneurship is a lot of not fun. I like the day-to-day variability, but my goodness, it's a struggle a lot of times unless you find the right idea. And like I said, it's like bouncing from idea to find something that sticks. Did I answer that?
Yeah, I think you answered it, but as you're answering it, I'm like, okay, but wait a minute, but what about this? And what about this? Because I think it was a really good answer. So I'll summarize. This is what I got out of it is, and I'll relate it to salespeople. You're a really good salesperson and you're thinking, I'm doing all this sales. Why am I working for someone? I should start my own company because I'm so good at sales. But you're not good at leading people.
There you go.
And if you can't lead people, you can't run a company.
And accounting and bookkeeping and cash management and securing a salesperson would probably be good at selling someone on giving them additional debt, et cetera. But the structure, intellectual property management, orchestrating people, like working through other people, it's a whole different skill set. And I'm currently in a shift from being the expert to leading from the front by showing, and I'm shifting to leading by delegating and managing other people, finding experts and having them execute my vision. And that's a whole different skill set. The ability to vision cast, what do I want? I'm usually the guy that just goes and does what I want and then says to somebody else, look what I did, now come do this with me, and then I'm going to hand it off to you. But now I'm hiring people who know stuff that I don't even know. And I'm like, here's my vision board. Here's what we're building. Which parts do you cover? Obviously, I know some of the parts, but I want you to catch that vision, catch that passion, hopefully, and execute independent of me. And then we'll do check-ins. And I have to manage by vision casting.
So here's the question. So you're traveling down this path where you're not the expert anymore. So
Yeah, it's
how do
weird.
you know that you have the right person to execute that vision?
Ooh, here is my trick for that. I hired somebody who is more expert than the person I'm hiring to be a consultant. So I hire this person. I'm this knowledge level. I know what I want to do, and I need to hire this knowledge level. So I hire a consultant at this level to evaluate this person.
That's smart. How do you, but okay, so how do you find that person here? Like,
Prayer and
what's
fasting.
the, what's that? What?
Prayer and fasting. So, yeah, you have to beg somebody and you have to pay a premium rate for an hour of their time on occasion. Golly, I'm thinking of my marketing guy. He is worlds ahead of where I'm at. And I'm blessed through relationships and asking people, I need a consultant. I need somebody who's way higher level. But that's the goal, right? Is you put it out there and you market for the right person and say, what's your rate? I need you to help me find the right hire. Here's my vision. Here's my capability set. Here's where I'm going and my funding. Can you help me evaluate people? Can you help me set my vision correct? And so I have a marketing strategist is what I call him. And then he helped me evaluate my current head of marketing. I just got her locked in and she started last week. And I'm so excited about that as a key hire.
Can you share what this new business is yet?
Oh, it's the title company.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
Titles. Okay, why titles?
because
Well,
I'm,
title here first. Before we say, I say, okay, title, because I know that because I'm in real estate. I know title, but
yeah.
most people don't know. So why title? Tell people what title is.
The why is because be the change you want to see. And I've got that tortured expert concept going on, but I have the entrepreneurial streak to make it work. So a title company is the company like when you're buying or selling a house, they're the independent third party that will do a title search. They'll offer title insurance, meaning somebody can't later come and make a claim that you have to pay for. Hey, that was my dad's house and he gave me a deed and I own 20% of whatever that is and you owe me money. Horror stories like that. A title company is the one that facilitates the transaction. You've got buyer's agents and seller's agents. That's all the two sides. But if you're ever trying to place bets, you got to go to a bookie who doesn't care who you are. They're just going to do what you guys agreed on. I bet $20 on this horse. They bet 20 on that horse. Bookie holds the money, checks the outcomes, and hands the money to whoever it's due and keeps a dollar. I don't know. But that's basically an analogy for what title company does. Very simplified.
Yeah, I was gonna say title companies are now bookies and they're placing bets on title companies.
But that's how escrow works, and people don't understand escrow, so I got to explain it.
But okay, so what's the tortured part? Why a title company? There's big title companies. They've been around for years. What is it that you saw that you thought I could do this so much different, or I could do this better, or this needs to be fixed?
The first company I created, Creative TC, that's transaction consulting for creative finance deals. These are not normal. They're weird. I'll be the first to admit that. It's not even admitting it. Like I'm telling you, what we do is weird. But when people are doing weird stuff, they need an expert in their corner. And oftentimes an attorney isn't fast enough, doesn't know, hasn't done these things. And so as a consultant, I'm in 48 states helping people buy and sell homes while leaving the existing loan in place. So if I bought your house and you had low equity, as an example, I would say, let me just take over your payments. You've got a lower interest rate than I can get, and I'm going to turn it into a rental property. I'll give you cash for your equity. Here's your 25K, and just let me take over your 4% interest mortgage. That sounds great, but your credit's on the line. So if I don't make payments, your credit takes damage. And what happens when you need to get another loan? How long are we together on this deal? Like we're tied together at the hip. And so there's a lot of discussions and paperwork that needs to be had. And that's what my team does the handholding for. That's the context for the answer here, because that's all so complex.
I'm gonna go back to questions I have about that because when I've done this for a long time. So AITD, the wraparounds, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
I could pull it out of my magic hat and this is how you do it and this is what it is. So we should talk about that.
Sure.
So the question going back was why a title company, and now you put this other company in place. What's the motivation behind the title company now?
So when company number one is holding your hand for that weird, crazy transaction, we have to still use a title company to close it. And title companies either don't know or don't care about all the intricacies involved in a lot of these deals. And I'm tired of correcting them. And I'm like, I should be the one running this title file. So here I am. I raised capital for this last October. We raised $300,000 in capital to get this thing started up. And we already do at company number one, 70% of the same work. So the knowledge overlap is pretty heavy. I just pulled 2 employees from company number one, started the title company, and we're actively marketing in Colorado now.
So it's really no different than when a real estate company gets an escrow company and then they acquire a mortgage company and then they have an affiliation. You're just you're taking one thing and you're just building the blocks.
Yes, I am. I'm building that empire at the moment.
Parts of the transaction.
Yep, because I do it better than other people. I wouldn't be a good founder if I didn't believe that either. We care more. One of our core values is excellence, and the standard average is not good enough. Set the standard, and that's what I tell my people. And we're constantly improving.
So you're building this group of businesses that they can just flow one into the next. And so the client that you're going to represent or the client that's involved knows that they're getting the same kind of service from beginning to end, the same protection. They get all of that. And it just happens to be around special financing and title. And I'm sure that title is going to grow into something else.
Yeah, we'll do traditional as well. I mean, we already do, but that's not who I'm marketing to.
All right, let's talk about, I love creative financing. There's a part of me that kind of misses it. And it's funny because the other day I have a lot of my clientele is older. So they are equity rich.
Yep.
And a lot of them they are not liquid. They've just got tons of equity. So this one particular client goes to sell her house. And I said to her, you like the rental income, but you don't want to be a landlord anymore. So why don't you just carry the first trust deed? And it was like, what? She ultimately did not do it because her CPA said at her age and risk and all of this, it just didn't make sense for them to do that. And I'm not going to override the advice of a CPA, but talk people through the benefits of carrying a trust deed or leaving their loan in place, because I know there was a great house up in Ventura, because I'm in California, and agent friends of mine have it. And it has an assumable first trust deed at 2.25%. And I'm like, why is no one buying this? Do you want the address?
No. California is crazy talk for me. I do weird stuff, but California is crazy.
Crazy and too difficult, or?
No, it's expensive. I'm a Kansas boy. You could sell one house in California and then come and buy the 4 mansions in Kansas.
I know, but we love parts of California.
It's beautiful, though. What I love about what you said was you saw the opportunity where they had lots of equity, which is illiquid. That's like an illiquid bank account. For listeners, that's money you can't tap into. You can't touch it. Now, you can if you do a refinance or a home equity line of credit, or if you sell the house, it converts the equity into cash. And so my favorite thing, what she said was, why don't you just carry the first trust deed, AKA seller finance it? Why don't you seller finance it? Get a fat down payment from somebody. That'll pay off. If you've got $70,000 worth of a loan left and you get $100,000 down payment, cool. You got $30,000 cash. It paid off your loan. And now you're charging 7 or 8% interest on this $600,000 remaining balance. That's pretty rich. You just turned all that equity basically into an annuity.
The other thing they don't realize is this person owned it free and clear. So all she needed she owns it free and clear. And I said to her, let's get 20% down because it'll give you some cash.
Yeah.
You'll get all your closing costs to be paid out of that 20% down.
Yeah.
I said, you can do a little bit higher rate on the first. Yep. You make it so that there's no prepayment penalty for 5 to 7 years. So you can future cast when you're going to have to pay taxes and all this money. And if you were advising, there was an age issue, and they didn't want to take that risk and have to deal with it. But there's a lot of people that have a lot of equities in their property and they're just sitting there. If you could rattle off 2 or 3 ways for people to dip into that equity that is not traditional, I'll just do a refinance. Or we used to have a guy out here, I think he's still here, and he sold trust deeds. So he would take some of your equity and he would sell your equity to somebody that needed a hard money down payment. So you would give him $200,000. He'd invest it for you in trustee, and you would make 12% because he would loan it to somebody as a second trustee. That was his business model. Or people would sell houses and have all this equity left over, and they would give him a chunk and he would sell it as trustees to help people buy houses.
Yeah, because money sitting in your bank account is pretty dangerous for the average consumer. You're going to find something to spend it on. So having it tied up in a promissory note somewhere where somebody owes it back to you with interest is a fairly safe way to store that cash. You go illiquid again, but
share with listeners why is it good for them to be handling some of their money like this.
So diversification, obviously, and then for like investments, if you consider this an investment, right? If I call it parking money, if I park money in real estate, if that person doesn't make payments, I can foreclose. Now, California is not a fast foreclosure state, so I would be looking to lend money, is what you're doing. You're lending money on real estate. In states like Texas, which has very fast foreclosure, but state by state, look up where you can foreclose much more quickly, because this money is secured by real estate. And so when you have a stock, it's not secured by anything. It's secured by hopes, wishes, dreams, and the expectation of economic growth.
And that somebody's going to manage it right for you.
You still got to, it's the same thing. Like if somebody mismanages property, it can go down in value as well. But the ability to force an auction of a home to pay you back from your promissory note is what makes real estate such a safe place to park funds.
So when people have this, so tell me about your business, about creative financing. Do you do that side of it, or what part of that creative financing do you do?
So at Creative TC, that's the consulting. We help you do your deals. We don't create deals. We don't sell or dispo. Same thing. Okay. You would bring a deal where you've got like a verbal agreement with Judy. Hey, I'm going to buy Judy's house. Here's what we agreed to. Can you help me put this on paper? Because most people don't understand what should go in the contract. Disclosures are pretty important when you're doing a sub 2. I want Judy to know, hey, your credit's on the line if Robbyn doesn't make payments. Do you understand that? Do you trust her? Do you believe that this is... We help people make informed decisions. So people will have an idea of a deal they want to do. They bring it to us. We help them put it on paper, convert from bullet points to a full contract. And then we'll choose a title company that's not going to blow up your deal, because some of them will advocate, which they're not supposed to do. They'll advocate for or against certain things. And it's, no, we already negotiated this. This is not up for debate. It's in the contract. Just do what we told you.
Give me a for instance. So you have this transaction and both parties have agreed. It's got some creative financing in the deal. What have you seen title companies balk at that they shouldn't have, that also just enforce what you're doing with building your own title company?
They start advising sellers. So I think creative finance is used to help people. I use creative finance to help people. So when I'm involved in a deal, like this, Judy Smith is behind on payments 12 months, and I've agreed to catch up her payments and make the monthly payment moving forward. Then the title company starts coming in and saying, Judy, you shouldn't trust anyone else to pay your mortgage. Title company, you shouldn't tell anyone that sort of statement. Stuff like that comes in, and then it casts doubt on the transaction. Now, ethical investors or buyers should be advising Judy, hey, if I don't make payments, it could cause a foreclosure or damage to your credit. That's a disclosure that should be had. But the title company's role would be, hey, we're not willing to close a transaction where we don't see satisfactory disclosures here. We want to make sure we're closing something that's above board and ethical. That's what you can do. But when you start stepping in and telling somebody you shouldn't X, Y, Z, make personal decision, this, that, and the other, that's what blows up the deal and is ruinous.
They're trying to do your job.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't be doing your job.
Yeah.
Team's job. Yeah, that's not.
They're imposing their opinion. Like they're saying, the escrow officer is saying, I wouldn't do that transaction. You're not behind by 12 payments and facing foreclosure, are you? So stop putting your head inside the seller's head.
And you're supposed to be the neutral third party. And
that's what I'm saying.
Party, you don't get to have a say in what you're doing. And
yeah.
And I see a lot. I see that in just regular transactions. Are you sure you should really talk to? And I'm thinking,
are you sure you want to open your mouth right now? You're about to get a complaint. Sit down and do what I told you. You have a contract. So I never come across that way, but golly, I sure feel that way.
Yeah. So share with listeners, what kind of creative transaction? What are things that you're doing? Because everyone thinks that, in California, we're always the anomaly. Most of our markets are still really strong. You've got just a normal transaction, but you're starting to see foreclosures start to pop and people getting NODs and getting in arrears? And what are some transaction examples you could give that would help listeners think maybe that's something I should consider doing?
So for the low equity person, this is what we normally see. Low equity, you just got a loan, it's an FHA loan or a VA loan. If you sold the house, it would cost you money out of pocket in a low equity situation, basically. And so what I see is an investors calling low equity house owners saying, hey, I'd love to buy your house and take over your payments, or finding somebody who's ready to sell. And then they help them run the math. Oh, it would cost you $25,000 in commissions and all closing costs to sell this house. What if I took all that off the table? I'll pay closing costs and I'll give you $5,000, but you have to let me take over your payments. So that's one of the arrangements. That's the sub two. I'll buy your house subject to your mortgage. You let me take over your payments. Another one, that's generally for low equity. That can also include those foreclosure rescue. I'm cautious to use that term because it shouldn't be foreclosure rescue. That's bad terminology. The Consumer Fraud Protection Bureau doesn't like that language. Yeah. But basically, listen, I'm going to catch up your payments and it's going to look good on your credit when I keep making your payments. So that's a pretty common situation. The high equity situation is just like what you talked about early on, when it's free and clear or the total debt is low and somebody wants to leverage that for profit. So it's usually either pulling somebody out of pain or pushing somebody into profit. One of those two situations. So if I want to sell on seller finance, you'll probably pay a slightly higher rate because I'm willing to approve you because you don't fit the cookie cutter box. Entrepreneurs, self-employed people, they may have solid income and a great down payment, but it doesn't fit the lender's box for, you don't have a W-2 with 2 years. Now I got to look for seller finance. There's fewer of those, supply and demand. So now my house that's $500,000 is $525,000 or $530,000 sale price because I'm willing to provide seller finance. And if the industry lending rate is 6 or 7%, I can charge 7 or 8. And now I'm making 8%. And the way a mortgage works, the first payment is like 95% interest, right? So for the first 5 to 7 years of that loan, you're getting interest payments as your profits, basically. And if they refinance in 7 years, there's a fat chunk of what they owed you still owed. So they collect when they refinance. You made a bunch of money for 5 to 7 years, and then you still get paid off pretty close to the original balance.
It's like the days when people used to do negam loans. I don't know, do negam loans even exist? And they would turn around and they would say, "Oh my gosh, why is my payment higher? Why is my balance higher?" Yeah. And it's like negam loans were great for people that were buying houses to flip houses. That was the only person that should have done a negam loan.
I don't think negative amortization is allowed for consumer loans. Not owner occupant.
I don't know because I don't have a lot of buyers that would do. I wouldn't have clients be doing something like that. But Now talk about a lease option. I love lease options. Ooh. I think they are one of the best ways for people to buy houses.
Also, as opposed to lease to own, rent to own, lease to own, I'm against that because that arrangement actually grants equity to the tenant gradually over time. Not what you want to do. You want a lease and you want an option to purchase as two separate things that are paired together nicely. A lease option is
So people won't know that nuance. So lease option, so lease to own, and then lease option where they build equity. There's different ways to structure these. So
there's unlimited ways.
So if I'm the tenant,
yes,
and I'm paying, and I'm in California, so I'm paying $4,500 a month for a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. Whew. Oh yeah, I'm not making that.
I know you're not.
But you look at, okay, so that's your scenario. You're paying $4,500 a month. The one that I feel is advantageous to the tenant, the one that's paying the rent, is that, I'm going to go in, I'm going to give you $10,000 as option money, and that gets applied toward my down payment. And if I don't exercise my option in the amount of time we agreed to, then I forfeit that $10,000 to you. But if I do, then that $10,000 gets credited. But then I want a portion of my monthly rent, let's say $1,000 a month, to go toward my down payment over the next year. So they've got their 10 plus they've got their addition. So they're saving through renting a down payment because it reduces their rent inevitably. Yeah. Am I on your track or am I on the track you don't like?
You're on the track I don't like. I normally work with investors, and I don't like tenants who can default to have equity upon default. So if I have to kick somebody out because they defaulted on the lease, if they've got equity, I have to pay that back to them. I don't like that. I would love you on my side if I was a buyer and you were helping negotiate, because that's great terms for me as a buyer, a tenant buyer.
Okay.
Two
Why
thumbs up.
couldn't you put a default term into that lease option that says if you default and don't pay the rent, then you forfeit all this money?
You can forfeit the option fee, but anything that you designated as equity growth or that counts toward the down payment, a court would consider, this is what I've read,
Okay.
not an attorney. Here's my law degree, not an attorney. But the cases that I've read about, a judge typically treats a portion of every monthly payment on a rent to own or lease to own, like you were structuring, as equity. And so if the person is building equity, you can't just strip or steal that equity when you kick them out. If they're a tenant, you have the right to evict them. However, if they have equity, you have to pay that equity back.
Got it. Okay. So you like the version where you're my tenant, but I've given you the first option to purchase.
That's right.
Okay.
And now I may give you two options. You can buy it with your own cash at price A, and that's you go find a lender and pay me off, and it's yours.
Got it.
The other option is I may consider seller financing you if your credit is 650 or higher at the time of purchase, and you have X down payment, and it's my subjective approval or something like that. You have to have 12 months of solid payment history as a tenant before that option opens up. That's where I want to try it before you buy it. As a seller, I'm trying you out as a buyer. I want to see that you can make 12 consecutive payments, that you have enough down payment at the end of 12 months, that you've managed your cash well enough that I believe that you're going to pay me for the next 10 to 15 years.
That makes sense. Could
Yeah.
you, in your scenario, could the owner then also say, listen, but I'm gonna give you a little carrot to chase. If you do your 12 months and you pay your rent on time and you agree to the purchase price, whatever we've agreed to, I will then not only finance, or you go get your own financing, whatever, but I will take 10% of your rent that you paid for the past year and give that to you as a credit towards your down payment.
Yeah,
So
you
they
can do a
haven't built
credit.
equity, but they've got a little catch that they've got some money coming to them
Technically,
with closing costs.
they've not built equity. Now, if this is a consumer to consumer and you're like helping structure this, I'm sure that would hold. But if I was an investor and it was my business model to do, and somebody was like, I'm a poor consumer and this business person tricked me into thinking I'd have equity at the end of a year and I don't, then a court's going to side with you don't want to be a business versus a consumer in court.
Yeah.
So very practical, individual to individual. Business to individual, I still would say, I'd rather not do that.
Okay. So you have to determine, are you a business person or are you a consumer?
If you're, and I think if you're doing 3 per year or you're on track to do 3 per year, you qualify as a lender that falls under all the regular lending regulations. You have to underwrite people and all sorts of, what is it, Dodd-Frank? I got the wrong workspace going on in my head.
I know what you're talking about, but you have to give all the correct disclosures, and because now you are a lender. All right,
yeah.
I'm going to pivot for just a second because I want your advice on, you're getting close to retirement, you're equity rich, and you don't want to sell your house. How can I use that equity in my favor? What am I doing?
If you're not trying to sell the house, there's not a lot that comes to mind. I could help somebody restructure something, but the tried and true methods are pretty safe. A HELOC, just go get a regular home equity line of credit or refinance the house. You could sell second position debt, but that's still just going to be a loan.
Yeah.
Now, this is not for most people, but if I got a refinance or home equity line of credit or a second position, like I converted equity into cash through a lender.
Right.
Basically, by the way, when you get a lender in place, you're basically promising your mortgage or deed of trust is you give them that document and it says, hey, in exchange for $300,000 cash, I'm giving you the right to foreclose on this house if I don't pay you. A lot of people don't understand it that way, but I give the bank a mortgage. They give me cash.
They really don't understand that?
No, they don't. They're like, I got a mortgage.
What?
Everybody says, I just got a mortgage. No, you gave a mortgage. What? No. Yes. The bank gave a loan. You gave a mortgage. Yes. Wait, what? The mortgage is the right to foreclose. Hey, lender, you have permission, legally recorded in public information, permission to...
I've never heard that. The people don't realize that. Really?
You're talking up here. I love it. I love talking to you. But
like, what?
You
I
used
mean,
to say
that's
neg am. I'm like, oh, I love this. I'm keeping up with that speed, but I don't know about who understands neg am. So that's why I actually explicitly said negative amortization.
yeah. I'm just like,
But so people don't understand that concept of I give the bank a mortgage, they give me a loan. They have it
right.
reversed
And
because conversationally
their
we go the
right
other way.
to get repaid is the process of foreclosure if they're not repaid.
Right. So
That's
now
okay.
let's just all that aside. If I tap into I convert my equity into cash by borrowing against the equity in the home and giving somebody the right to foreclose on it if I don't pay. I can borrow that at 5% interest, maybe. If I can deploy that at 12% interest, then it's profitable, right? Putting it into other real estate deals, lending it
Sure.
on higher interest, higher risk deals. But most people are not, that's not for them, like evaluating the
They're
risk
not,
profile of a deal.
yeah. I'm even thinking, what if it was short term, like they were doing it for construction financing or something like that?
Yeah, but what's that
I
series, Richest Man in Babylon? Have you ever read that?
No, I've not read that.
One of the core principles, the takeaways is what you don't understand is makes a bad investment. That's where you lose
Yeah.
money. And yeah, if this sounds like a good idea, but it's a one-off, are you
Yeah.
willing to lose $5,000 to $10,000 as your college education on how to do this the right way?
Here's what I think this is great for. I think that I see a lot of family deals and deals between friends. They should be talking to you when they're putting these deals together.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because, oh, they're my friend. They would never screw me over. Oh, I promised my friend. Or this was mom and dad's intent, but then mom or dad passed away. And they're left with this. They should be talking to you when they're trying to put these deals together. That's
Or an
how I see
attorney,
it.
but yeah, a lot of
No,
us are
but I
going to
mean, your
say don't do
company
deals with
and
family.
just being able to understand the ins and outs. And you've already stifled me on some of my ideas. Oh, no, I wouldn't do that. No, I wouldn't do that.
It depends on buyer side or seller side.
Sure.
Again, most of my clients are investors who are selling to consumers. And so I'm cautioning them against, yeah, you can say whatever you want in a contract. And what I tell people is everything works until it doesn't. And the paperwork demonstrates your intent, but it may not hold up. Even if it's like very clear, black and white, you do this and I do that. If you don't do this, then I can't do that. If they take it to court and go, oh, I'm a poor consumer, you still might be up a creek.
Yeah, I get that. So, what else do we know about you and your fantastic entrepreneurial life? What do we
Mm,
not?
I don't know. I'm playing around with AI right now. I want to deploy AI privately in my own home.
Yeah.
Well, talk about entrepreneurship. I have a failed business venture. I invested $10,000 in setting up a crypto mining rig in my basement, which heated the house during the winter. So that was cool. It was like meaningful. But Ethereum mining, I bought multiple graphics cards and then Ethereum stopped being mined. I bought it right at the end of its life cycle. And so I only earned half my money back before that got shut down. And I'm like looking for things to do with these thousands of dollars of computer hardware. Turns out I can run my own local AI for my companies.
That's pretty cool. That's going to go so over my head. All I know is I love AI. It helps me write things well. It helps me make business plans or marketing plan. It does all kinds of cool things for me. I'm not scared of it at all. But when you say that you're going to put it in your basement, I'm like, there's this little man in a box that's going to talk
It's
to
like
me
the
all day
computer gets
long.
hot and turns down my AC. So it's because it's like, I'm hot down here. I change the temperature.
Okay, so I'm going to ask because I have no idea what I'm even asking, but I think this will be fun. So you're building your own AI, which means who feeds it? Who gives it the knowledge? How do you even start? I can't even formulate the question because I'm so baffled by the concept of how you do it. It
Well,
reminds me of when my computer guy was trying to explain to me how you connect to the internet years ago. And I was like, huh? And now I'm like,
yeah.
oh God, you're so dumb. So make me not dumb. How's that?
I think the use case justifies you don't care about how until you care about why. So why does it make sense for anyone to do this? Have you ever run out of tokens like it maxes out and says you're done for the day on AI?
No, because I pay for my AI. So I think
Okay.
that
I've got paid subscriptions and I hit my limits fairly regularly.
you've got to read more. You shouldn't be asking that many questions to AI. I'm teasing you.
Those tokens burn pretty quick when you ask it to start doing stuff. So I've been playing with Claude to have it actually do work next to me and use my computer, and that burns the tokens pretty fast. But I've got 15 employees. We've got 6 of them on paid plans. Most of us are hitting our limits multiple times a day and getting timed out. So the why is, do I want to bump my subscriptions from $350 a month to almost 5 times that to have unlimited, basically, where we wouldn't be hitting our caps?
Right.
No, I don't. That's thousands, some multiple thousands per month. So now the value proposition is, if I spend $6,000 or $7,000 on hardware in my basement, which I've already got 2,000, 3,000 of that. So if I spend that money, I can have my own self-hosted AI with no limits, right? My electricity bill goes up by $60 or $70 a month for us to have our own private AI, which also can hold private information. So that's the why. Is financially, it just starts to make sense. The payback is a few months for my usage case. The what is, there's open source tools. I'm not saying anybody could just go do this, but anybody can. It's a technical capability set, though. I was just working on wiping a server clean and reinstalling a fresh operating system. And then I would have to go fetch the LLM, that's the language learning model, and install it on the workstation and install the software, the chat interface software to go on top of that. But that's the process. You install this giant database of information and logic reasoning capability, and you start chatting to it, just ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude or whatever.
That's cool. That's very cool.
And that the software and the tools are free. There are paid versions, there are free versions, but you can install these things and run it.
But you also have a techie background, a very techie
I do.
background.
Yeah,
So,
I do.
I mean, you cybersecurity. I loved your comment. You said that you were in prison, and I waited. I'm like, okay, what? You were in prison?
5 years.
Your computer? I thought it was hysterical. But okay, so explain why you were in prison. Before everybody thinks that
served a 5.5 year sentence, 8 hours a day as a prison guard.
I thought that was such a great story.
Yeah. I learned a lot about physical security and risk management there, and then I moved to IT and cybersecurity. So I've got the full risk suite, and business analysis was my favorite class when I was an IT guy. And I was like, so I got to do the technical stuff, but I want to learn business. I asked for a pay raise, by the way.
Yeah.
When they said no monetary pay raises this year because we had a slow year at one company, I said, here's a way you can pay me. Let me sit in, fly on the wall. I promise I won't say a word. I want to sit in on board meetings. That would be a raise. No. But that shows what I'm doing is not who I am. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to build things. I want to understand business. I enjoy solving problems and building systems and things like that. So what I'm doing today is just what I've got to do to get to that next stage of whatever this is.
Are you incredibly curious about things?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's the fun part.
Why do you want to know?
Because I need to know everything.
That's the joke. That's me being curious. I'm not an expert at everything, but I love learning different things. Like, I had no idea like how you did your AI. That's a piece of information that I'll just stick away and go, oh, okay. And then I'll hear something that relates to it. And it all builds its way. But I think that's the other thing, going back to our very beginning of our conversation about becoming an entrepreneur and running businesses, is that, do you agree or disagree? You have to have curiosity. Oh, yeah. Because you're just going to get slammed with new to-dos and demands from everywhere that you never expected. I like problems to solve. So entrepreneurship works well for me. If I'm doing the same thing every day, give me something to figure out. I like learning stuff just to learn it. Have you ever taken the Enneagram test?
What is it called?
Enneagram, ENNEAGRAM.
What is that? Because maybe I just don't know it by name.
It's a personality test. It'll classify you as a number 1 through 9 and tell you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I get distracted very easily, and I need to. I could be talking to you, but remember this, because it pops into my brain, and I want to know, and I want to be able to. I need to know enough so that if I'm talking about a problem, I can help solve the problem. I'm very,
I think your score and my score would be pretty similar the way you talk.
I sell real estate, but at heart, I'm very shy, but then I'm a little bit of a nerd. I don't know. I'm all over the board with a lot of different things.
Yeah.
But it's good. And I think that if people, do you think people are afraid and that's why they don't have this side of some people just will never have that trait in their personality. But do you think that fear keeps a lot of people from you lost $10,000 in your basement because of your crypto not working the way you thought it was going to work? And you're just like, okay, cool. This is what I learned. I was telling someone yesterday when I was working out and my Pilates instructor said something to me. And I said, if somebody heard you say what you just said, and you just heard what she quoted, I said, the things people would think. And then my husband said something. And when you just take random quotes and there's no context to them, this is us in your basement.
Oh, yeah. I love it. That's perfect. Yeah. Great sound bites.
I can't tell you what my Pilates instructor said.
So you went to the gym yesterday?
I go to Pilates twice a week. I've been doing that forever. Private sessions, love it.
Wow. I didn't make it to the gym today. I think that actually makes 16 years in a row.
It's good to have goals and be good at something. So not going to the gym for 16 years, you're right on
Consistency.
There you go. I gotta go. I got stuff to do. I have things to do. You have businesses to run, or we're just going to sit here and crack jokes at each other the whole time. It was great chatting with you. I don't know what this whole entire podcast was about today. I'm just saying we got to the point about a lot of things. But
why don't we ask the listeners, what was this about? What was your takeaway? Because we touched on a lot of things. There you go.
I like that.
You tell us what this episode was about, because we had a great time and we hope you did.
We had a good time. So why don't you close out my podcast for me? I'm just saying.
I love it. I'm going to close it out with a bottom line up front. I'm just saying, get to the point. Why don't you start your stories with the punchline? That's the way to start an email and to be an effective communicator.
I love that. Caleb, thanks for being on.
Thank you.
I'm Robbyn Battles, and I'm just saying, I want to thank you for listening. I hope you'll come back for future episodes and be sure to like, share, and follow. I'm just saying, let's get to the point. I'm Robbyn Battles.